Assalamu alaikum. Good job working on the previous session, guys. It was super important to get your feet off the brakes, to get unstuck, to identify your limiting beliefs. Can't tell you how much this is standing in your way, and it was great for you to do the exercises and now to be here. Now this is the exciting stuff. Once we dig the foundation, then we start to build our building. Likewise, once we narrow down things that are stopping us, then we allow for space to create life, which is why this topic is called Create Space to Create Life. A good analogy to give in this case is, think about this. Think about that a piece of land, right? And you just pulled out the weeds. That's what we just did. Now, the weeds need to be out, and the soil needs to be fertile for you to be able to plant your seeds. Likewise, it's the same way that first we need to make sure the land is ready and irrigated so you can start planting on that piece of land. And now that we have a fresh piece of land, now this section is about creating, now that we've pulled out all the weeds, now this section is about cultivating the land and making it ready so you can go ahead and start to plant and work. To start this off, I want to say a line from Surah Al-Ra'd, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Verily Allah will not change the good condition of a people as long as they do not change their state themselves." Meaning that in order for us to see a change outside, we must change what's inside. We must change our thoughts, our actions, our beliefs, our routines. We must change them first for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us change that. So foundation, the basics of everything should be for us to understand that whoever believes in Allah in the last day and does right, surely their reward is with their Lord, and there shall be no fear come upon them, neither shall they grieve. So the foundation, we should know that we're doing all of this for the sake of Allah. Through your readings, must have gotten some more clarity on purpose and logic. You backed up your reason with you backed up your belief with logic, and now you should know that everything you're doing is for the sake of Allah. We're living for the sake of Allah. We are working for the sake of Allah. We're building our business for the sake of Allah. We are building our life, our relationships. Everything is for the sake of Allah. And Allah says, "Whoever believes in me and the last day and does right, their reward is with Him, and there shall be no fear upon them, neither shall they grieve." Beautiful. Allah's promised. If you work for me, you work for the last day and do right, there will be no fear upon you. Secondly, another quality for people who grow is whenever disaster strikes them, they say, "Indeed, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." You came from Allah, you're going to go to Allah. This is how you stay grounded in the current reality right now in this moment. And they say, "Hasbi Allahu la ilaha illa huwa alayhi tawakkaltu wa huwa rabbul arshil azim." Sufficient for me is Allah. There is no deity except Him. On Him I've relied, and He is the Lord of the great throne. So before we can start to build any of our goals, guys, before we can start to put together any of our goals for building the biggest company, for getting the ideal job, for getting your spouse, whatever your goals are, before we can start to do that, we must clear out our intentions. We may say that it's for the sake of Allah. Is it truly for the sake of Allah? Get real with yourself. This is the time to stop fooling around. Because you're fooling around, that's what's caused you to be stuck and not get the results that you want. Quit fooling around. Take it for real. Or do you really want to do it for the sake of Allah, or are you just saying it? If you are just saying it, we got some work to do. And know this. What's going to happen? Always remember that you're going to die one day. What's going to happen after you die? Is it just going to be an end? Is it just going to be a joke? Is that hisab, everything Allah has said, is that just a joke? Are we taking it just as a joke? Are we taking it for real? When we take it for real, we will know that our actions, our business, we have to answer. How do we do at our jobs? How do we do at our business? How do we deal with our clients? How do we deal with our spouses? How do we deal with our children? How do we deal with our ummah? Our ummah was heard, what do we do? We have to answer all of these things to Allah. And when we remember that, then we can say, "Ya Allah, I built this business. Ya Allah, I built this franchise. Ya Allah, I helped this people. Ya Allah, I did this project. Ya Allah, I took care of my family. Ya Allah, I did this for the ummah. I did this for the ummah." This is what you can build. This is what you can build upon. So know this, guys. Get your foundation right. Go to work and work on yourself slowly but for consistent work. This is a lifetime journey to understand that you need to build a strong foundation. So is your work actually being done for the sake of Allah, or are you just saying it? Make it truly for the sake of Allah. And if you are in a business, if you're in a line of work where you are uncertain, or you're not doing it for the sake of Allah, fix your intentions. If you can't fix it, get rid of whatever it is that you're doing. Next is one of the biggest rookie mistakes that you could do, guys, is relying solely on Qadr Allah and dua and not taking all the steps necessary to achieve your goals. This is one thing that's hurt our ummah the most. I can't stress this enough. Take your actions, guys. Take responsibility. Take 100% responsibility for your goals. Now, I want to touch on the topic of barakah and dua. You know, there's one thing, no matter what happens in our life today in the Islamic community, we say, yeah, we can't do anything, so let's just make dua. Yeah, Allah will put barakah in it. Yeah, we just make dua. You know, this person, our one of our sisters gets raped. Don't worry, make dua. The Muslims get called a bad name. Don't worry, make dua. You lose your job. Don't worry, make dua. I'm not anti-dua, but is dua just enough? As Muslims, we are taught to take massive strategic actions and then put your trust in Allah and then make dua. Give an example of Musab ibn Umair radiallahu anhum. He's a person who was a very rich boy of Makkah before his conversion. After he converted, he was known for sacrifice. He was known for giving sacrifice because he left everything he had. So Prophet ﷺ, when he was looking for a way for a solution to build the Islamic State for the Muslims, he sent Musab ibn Umair radiallahu anhum to Medina to bring together Aus and Khazraj. He chose strategically. He chose who he was going to send. Same thing in Hudaybiyah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Prophet ﷺ to sign the agreement that Muslims are not going to go for Umrah this year, but they'll come back next year. Yeah, some Sahaba were upset, but what was the side effect? Quraysh were known for their ability to never stop anybody from coming to their place of worship, to the Makkah. This year, they stopped people from coming to Makkah. All of Arabia heard about it, and Arabia joined Islam in numbers. So guys, it's all about taking strategic actions. You have to think strategically. You have to do critical thinking. Ibrahim a.s., he was known for asking questions. He asked the king, he would ask the father, he would ask his father, he would ask even Allah, Allah, how do you create after you kill? After you take life, how do you give it back? So even he asked it, guys. So don't just rely on barakah. Take strategic actions. And we will need to take strategic actions that will lead to the attainment of your goal. And then you can make your dua. Yeah? So we're going to focus on establishing goals, and then we're going to take strategic actions. We're going to decide what needs to happen. You can't add the right ingredients to your recipe and expect the biryani to turn out okay, guys. It's not just, I can't put noodles and tomato sauce and soy sauce and expect the outcome to be biryani. That's the same thing. You're not giving in the right reasons and taking the right actions to get the results you want, but you want the results. Don't just chase on the results. The results are cool to go after, but focus on the present and focus on the actions that you can take to get there. And here's one thing that we need to know, guys. Who is a strong believer? Strong believers, a Muslim is focused, he or she is realistic and strategic, all for the sake of Allah. He does all of this for the sake of Allah. No. And if you really want every single action of yours to be equivalent to worship, make this your formula. At the end of everything you do, make the basis of your action to say, I am doing this for the sake of Allah. I am doing my work for the sake of Allah. I'm taking care of my family for the sake of Allah. I am driving to the masjid or to my fitness class so I can be tough for the sake of Allah. I am cooking this food for my family so for the sake of Allah. I am being patient with my husband or with my wife for the sake of Allah. Align everything in your life so you do it only for the sake of Allah. Because you see, when you do it for the sake of Allah, that will give you the long-term vision, the long-term mission to stay true to your task, no matter how big it is. And third, say Bismillah before you take action on anything. That's how you build the sincerity. That's how you build this vision and focus to do everything for the sake of Allah. I start to open up my laptop to record this. Bismillah, Bismillah. I start to hit the record button. Bismillah. And I put the laptop away. Bismillah. Imagine if every single thing of actions that were built in, that we do on a day-to-day basis, if they're filled in with Bismillah, how you're going to build sincerity. You heard this before, but I'm giving this to you in a context, in a concept here, so you start to bring this in. Now, how do the Western gurus, the Western personal development gurus who people blindly follow, how do they contrast? They say, you do all of this for your sake only. You build your business because you can do it. You go big because you should do it, because you deserve it, because you are this and you are all the powerful, because you are this, you are that. Which is cool, but let's just be straight. It's very hard for people to separate the two. It's very hard for people to separate Islam with the Western personal development, what they taught. And actually the stuff they teach that leads to individualism. It leads to people thinking, hey, I want to do it this way. Hey, and this is evident. Don't tell me you're not a part of this. Hey, I want to worship this way. Hey, to each their own. Hey, I see it this way. I see it this way. This is what breaks the ummah, guys. Everybody's saying, I am right. I am right. I am right. It's not what you think is right. It's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, or what I think is right. It's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says is right. That's what we need to go by. You see? For them, they're building their business, giving away for their money. Everything is focused on making themselves feel good. I was with one of my clients, and we did this exercise. And we said, why do you want to build a big business? And so I can give back. Well, why do you want to give back? So, I can say I did something. I'm like, why do you want to say I did something? Well, so I want to build a legacy. I'm like, why do you want to build a legacy? So I could say I was confident and I did something for my future generations. And say, why do you want to do that? They say, just so I can say that I am happy, And we're like, okay, that's what it is. See, this is what they were leading people to believe. This is what they wanted people to have. And for us, this is poisonous, and this can seriously hamper your ability to achieve and do things for the sake of Allah. So be careful to take on what you take and what you leave from the PD books, and this is it. So have this right. So get to know Islam from a PD perspective. I mentioned this before, that everything that these guys have, every concept of PD that these guys have, the foundation of it is Islam. Foundation of it is from us. So get to know that. Exercise. This week, read the book called Man's Greatest Question. This book is life-changing. It's only 15, 16 pages, but it will help you strengthen the logic behind your belief and make you even a stronger believer. It would answer questions like, why is there a creator? Why should you believe in the Quran? Why should you believe in the Prophet ﷺ? Tough questions. So once you know this, then you'll be able to be the mover and shaker in the society. Exercise you got to work on this week is picture you leaving the earth and think about how you like to meet Allah. Imagine like it's your last day, life is done, and this is your funeral. You're giving your own funeral speech. How are you? What are you saying? Who were you? What type of life did you lead? What is the difference you made? How were you as a person to be around? And what are you going to tell Allah about the type of life you lived? Keep a record of this. I want you to revisit this list every year and make any updates as you grow, because you are going to grow into a better person, inshallah, every single year. So keep a list of this. Re-edit this at least once a year. You could do it up to 4 times a year. And this is going to be super powerful. Exercise number 2, developing a 5-year vision. Picture your ideal life in 5 years from today. What does it look like? What would you like to have accomplished in every area of life? Think as much details as possible. Think in financial, think in physical, think in spiritual or deen, and think in impact, and think of your work, and your families. Think in every area. Don't think about what's possible from today if you're knees deep in debt, or if you're super fat, or you're very far from your goals. We'll worry about the method afterwards. For now, just think it. I would recommend that you do this in a very quiet place where you can use for reflecting, where you could be just alone, and then think about your goals, and then track progress. Make a goal, make a place where you could be alone individually, and then book us a session. We are going to dig deep together into your vision, and into your urology speech, and into any of the discoveries from the book, and set goals for the next week. Have a great session, do these exercises, give them time, take them very seriously, and I'll see you very soon.